Greetings and welcome to the channel. This is Mikhailov from Team Retro, where we like retro games and the devices that bring them to us. So I've had the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus for about a week and a half, and in that time, I've honestly really been enjoying my time with it. I got to go hands-on with the Claw 8 way back in December in an event held by MSI, and I did a first look video where I went over the specs and some of my initial impressions of the device. In that video, I mentioned that I love the screen and the potential that the Lunar Lake chip brought to the table, but was concerned about the ergonomics and the price. Well, I still have those concerns. But now that I have time to test the device in a more real-world scenario, I'm finding the positives of this handheld actually outweigh the compromises. So in this video, we're going to put the MSI Claw through its paces and see if it's worth a whopping 900 of your hard-earned dollar bucks. So let's dive in and get to work. At time of recording, the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus pre-orders went live on Amazon this past Saturday morning with a release date of today, February 4th. As of right now, those pre-orders have sold out, but more stock is expected soon. As a matter of fact, stock actually keeps fluctuating on Amazon as to whether it's available or not available. But now that it's February 4th, you should be able to walk into a Best Buy and buy them or place an order on Newegg and get it within a couple of weeks. It's also worth noting that the MSI Claw 7 AI Plus is still available at $799 and is $100 cheaper than the Claw 8, which comes in at $899 retail. The Claw 8 unit I'm featuring in this video was provided by MSI for the purposes of this review. As is always required, all opinions are my own, I'm not being paid, and they are not seeing this video before it is published. As far as the new Claw 7 goes, stay tuned to my good friends Rob the Retro Tech Dad and Stubbs from Retro Handhelds, as they have the 7 AI Plus on hand and will be publishing content on it very soon. So with that, let's hop on our mount and ride into Spec Town so that I could just give a quick review of what the Claw 8 AI Plus brings to the table. The Claw 8 is powered by an Intel Core Ultra 280V Lunar Lake processor. The GPU is an Intel Arc 140V. The device has 32GB of LPDDR5X RAM and a 1TB NVMe 2230 drive with expansion via microSD card slot. The screen is an 8-inch LCD screen with a 1200p resolution, 120Hz refresh rate, and a 16:10 aspect ratio. Giving the device life is an 80 watt-hour battery. For connectivity, this handheld has Wi-Fi 7 built in as well as Bluetooth 5.4. The device ships with Windows 11. In my last video, I toured the device and compared it to the original MSI Claw A1M. So if you're interested in the hardware and design of this handheld compared to the original, I encourage you to check out that first look video. I'll have a card up at the top of the screen, and the link will also be in the description. For this video, I wanted to focus on the aspects of the device that I wasn't able to address in the limited time that I had with the Claw back in December. We're going to go over the audio quality, the ergonomics, take a closer look at MSI Center M, check out PC gameplay, and we obviously have to try emulation. And I'll talk a little bit about the battery life, but that's going to be a little bit more anecdotal, as I just kind of didn't worry about the battery life when I was playing on this device. Of course, all these sections will be timestamped in case there is a specific aspect of the Claw 8 that you are interested in seeing. So let's start with the audio first, and to do that, we have to talk about what made the original MSI Claw so unique. The speakers were powered on the software side by Nahimic and gave quite a few options as to what you can set for the audio. And the result coming out of the front-facing speakers was a unique experience. With MSI's partnership with Nahimic expired, the company opted for more of a hardware solution. So in order to properly test and compare the audio, we're going to use the Steam Deck OLED as a baseline and compare the Claw 8 to the Steam Deck as well as the original Claw A1M. There are also a couple of handhelds that I don't have, so I enlisted help from a couple other YouTubers. You'll see some of their handhelds in the audio test as well. If you're into listening to game music and something like an RPG, then this handheld is going to literally rock. When I reviewed the original MSI Claw, I talked about how MSI Center M was one of the best front ends on a Windows handheld. It always just seemed to work no matter what game I was playing, while other devices would sometimes struggle to pop up with the front end or the quick settings during full screen games. MSI has made quite a few improvements to MSI Center M, but I don't necessarily know that I prefer it over the original right now. It is nicer looking, especially the quick settings section. However, and this is a nitpick, the quick settings comes in from the left of the screen as opposed to the right. This is only odd because the quick settings button is still on the right. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between button placement and reaction from the software. This has led me to, on more than one occasion, accidentally launch the MSI Center M front end instead of going into quick settings, which broke me out of the game immersion. In MSI Center M, there is the illusion of being able to change this because you could see what these two buttons do in the key mapping section, but there's no way to actually change those button mappings. I'm hoping that MSI will allow you to shift the position of the quick settings menu in future updates, but for now, it's just something we have to deal with. That said, the quick settings bar is one of the most featured I've seen in a Windows handheld to date. There is an integration with the Xbox Game Bar, so in addition to the normal quick settings like brightness, TDP profile adjustment, resolution shortcuts, and the like, you can also access a whole host of other widgets such as quick launching your games, having quick access to screenshot capture or video recording, seeing your device status, checking in on Xbox Social, and there's a whole new widget store for you to add some extra functions you might need depending on your use case. For me, I personally like a quick and clean interface, so I turn most of these widgets off. MSI Center M also has a built-in game menu that automatically scrapes your library from Steam, Xbox, and a bunch of different storefronts. I usually just use Steam Big Picture, but I've been enjoying launching games right from MSI Center M with no hassle. I just wish there was an option to add favorites so I don't have to scroll through all of my games. And then there's the usual stuff, being able to adjust TDP profiles, change the LED lighting, and remap buttons and keys. There is also an option to use the back buttons as combo keys, meaning if you hold the back button and press another button, you can access a quick command. I tend to use this over making my own macros because it allows me to pull up the on-screen keyboard, access the task manager, and do all those Windows things that are just tough to do without a mouse and keyboard. I do wish you could again customize some of these shortcuts. Like for example, one of the extra things I need is to be able to hit an F11 button to exit full screen mode, and I wasn't able to really customize that in. Overall, while I do like the software, I do think it needs a little bit more time to cook and can use a few extra features. So now let's talk about ergonomics, and the best way to do this is to bring out the original Claw. This thing feels really good in the hand, especially when adding this TPU case for it. Even without the case, the original Claw feels comfortable with the right weight distribution. The Claw 8 is just a little bit heavier than the Claw 7, coming in at 792 grams to the Claw 7's 673 grams. That weight makes it just a bit too heavy, and the ergonomics are a little flatter than on the original Claw. I do like these ridges on the back though, as they do provide me with guides on where to rest my fingers. However, if I could have the Claw 8 with the Claw 7's ergonomic bumps, I would actually be a very happy Retrogue. I wouldn't consider the ergonomics to be a deal breaker though, especially when it comes to the performance of this unit and the size of this screen. Now as far as performance goes, I decided to keep the AI engine on and let the MSI Claw 8 do the work, because, to be honest, I just didn't want to think about it. I wanted to play games on this device, and I have to say, playing games on this is an absolute joy. I played each game at a 1200p resolution, kept the refresh rate at 120 Hz, and just let the AI engine figure it out from there. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion at medium settings did not hit that 120 FPS cap during gameplay, maxing out at about 75 frames per second with a maximum of 26 watts total package power. Playing this game for about an hour brought the battery from 94% to 64%, about a 30% reduction per hour, which would make this game last a tentative 2.5 hours under these settings. Diablo Eternal, at default settings, hovered at around 51 frames per second, also pulling a maximum of 26 watts total package power. The lower frame rate still felt very smooth and didn't hamper my ability to play the game, especially considering the precision needed to rip and tear until it is done. I played the entire second level of this game, which took me about an hour and a half. Yes, I know, I'm bad at video games. During that time, the battery went from full to 51%. I estimate about 90 minutes of playtime on Doom Eternal before needing to reach for a charger at these settings. Monster Hunter Rise at average settings hovered at about 75 frames per second at 1200p, but was able to max out at around 91 frames per second at one point. With the AI engine, the game took up about 24 watts of total package power. Playing for about 45 minutes, the average time for a challenging hunt, factoring prep time in town to completing the quest, brought the battery from 100% to 80%, which would average a 20% battery loss per hunt. You could potentially enjoy this game at these settings for up to 3 hours before needing to reach for a charger. Now let's get into emulation and start with SNES. If you're dealing with any system that runs through RetroArch, you can now turn on black frame insertion for 120 Hz displays. This will dim the picture a bit because a black frame is basically being inserted in between screen refreshes. Keeping at this refresh rate, black frame insertion makes these older systems run really smooth and makes retro gaming an absolute joy on this 8-inch screen. Playing Chrono Trigger for about an hour only dropped the battery about 10% from 64% to 54%. That could mean potentially 9 hours of lightweight content like SNES emulation before having to reach for a charger. The game settled on a 12-watt TDP with 19 watts of total package power, which is probably overkill for playing SNES games, and I probably would get more mileage setting the TDP lower, but hey, if this thing runs SNES for almost 10 hours before needing a charge with black frame insertion turned on, I really have nothing to complain about. For Switch emulation, I played a well-known game called The Tales of Lonk, The Crying Castle, which ran between 19 and 30 frames per second depending on what was happening on screen, which I believe is how the game runs on original hardware anyway. The AI engine preset, the system stayed at about a 17-watt TDP with 27 watts total package power. Outside areas seem to be where this game struggled the most, and I think patches could get this frame rate higher, but playing this game on this screen with these speakers is really an experience that you are just not going to get on original hardware at this time. So now let's skip right past PS2 and go into PS3 emulation using RPCS3 to play the God of War 2 HD remaster, which maintained close to 60 frames per second and ran very well. This game also pulled about 27 watts total package power, which seems to be the cap for the AI engine preset, and honestly, I think that's fine, considering the battery has proven to at least guarantee 2 hours at these higher wattages at a 1200p resolution. I honestly have no battery anxiety with this device, even though I've been taxing it, and performance has been solid enough that I've been able to just sit and enjoy games. To me, This is the sign of a successful handheld, and despite some shortcomings, MSI hit it out of the park. Which means it's time to wrap things up with my final thoughts, starting with the positives. This is one of the most gorgeous non-OLED screens that I've had the pleasure of playing games on. So what we have here is basically a combination of an amazing screen, good performance, and amazing speakers, making this a pick-up-and-play device. This means that you don't really have to think about it. I've just been picking it up and playing it. I haven't been futzing with settings or anything. I've just been launching games, and they look and play just darn amazing. I was even showing some gameplay to Nefarious today, and he simply said, "That is a gorgeous machine," his words. But it's not perfect, and let's talk about why, starting with the ergonomics. They're not bad, but they're not great either. I still think the original Claw and the Claw 7 AI have better ergonomics overall. I think part of that has to do with the weight of the device, and in all fairness, I didn't really feel any type of fatigue until I started playing Doom Eternal. However, I feel that this device is more suited to RPGs than it is for shooters, and I didn't feel hand fatigue if I was playing an RPG, even if it was an action RPG. MSI Center M is definitely improved, but it isn't quite there yet and is missing some features that other front ends have, like the ability to add your favorite games. I'm not a fan that there is a 2230 hard drive in there, because that means a maximum of a 2TB hard drive if you want to open this up and give yourself more storage. When the Legion Go S is allowing you to upgrade to a 2280 and the Ally X also has a 2280, this to me seemed like a step backwards. And finally, this is an expensive handheld at $900. This handheld is priced out of a lot of people's price range, considering the other options out there. However, if you're looking for one device that can double as a portable computer, this could be the one. It's a powerhouse and a definite improvement over the original Claw. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this the device for you? Are you passing on it? And what do you think is the best use case for something like this? And please feel free to continue the conversation in the Retro Handhelds and Steam Machine Discords, where you could find me hanging out in between videos. And if you want to support the channel like these wonderful people on the screen, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. Links for all these places are in the description. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe if this video was helpful to you in any way. Every smash of that button helps the channel grow and allows me to get more content out to you. But until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.